And we're live. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to our show. This is Ray Fernando, and we have Ronald Manak. And today we have a really amazing guest whose name is Prince Canuma. And if you're interested in Apple MLX, this guy is the king of these models. And we're going to be talking to him today and sharing our experience with using the stuff and just our interest. And if you're definitely interested, this is the show for you to be watching, because we're just going to start getting into all the mix of things. So for those who don't know, my name is Ray Fernando, and I used to work at Apple for 12 years as an engineer. So now I'm on my own learning AI. And, I basically bumped into Prince, as he was posting these different AI models online. So that just got me really interested in this technology and kind of what's going on here. And he's got a really fascinating story. And I'll also introduce to you my co-host Ronald. Exactly. Yeah, so without further ado, we have Prince. Welcome. Yes. Or PHP Lambos. Yeah. There's Lambos. Yeah. Yeah. Gwen Lambo. Yeah, it's really serious. It's so crazy.
Optimized for NVIDIA GPUs and MPS, which is Apple Silicon, Apple Metal Silicon, something like that. And so many different hardware choices that you might, or configurations that you might have. Now, when it comes to MLX in particular, and it's the same, like, so PyTorch Lightning, and all of these different frameworks optimize for a lot of different hardwares. MLX specializes on particularly Apple Silicon. So it's super optimized for Apple Silicon. They're not thinking about any other architecture. And I think that's the advantage of MLX.
Okay, that's awesome. Hey, and you are basically developing in Python.
Mhm.
How does that? Because I mean, Apple is not known for like their Python libraries or anything like that. How does that work? Is it like easy to use for Python developers as yourself?
Yes, it's super easy for you to develop because MLX has a Python API. So they do, you do have like C kernels, but part of MLX is C++ and the other part is Python. And they also have all of the interface, kind of the API to all of those lower level kernels, like the C ones in Python. So you can access everything from Python. If you want to develop a new kind of operation that needs to be fast, you can go to the C++ level, or you can start at Python, see if people are using it, and then just go deeper. And that's what I've seen even with MLX LM. There were a lot of operations that were first done in Python, very easy to do. You can think of MLX Python API just like PyTorch. It's kind of pretty similar to PyTorch, so it's very easy for developers to get started. I started on a weekend. Like I ported my first model in less than 30 hours. Of course, the majority of the time was understanding the model architecture, not necessarily MLX. It's super easy.
Right. So can you walk us through what is needed to port a model? Because you have like the weights, you have
Yes.
code, I assume. So where
Yes.
do you start? What do you do?
Ah, that's a really great question. I get that question a lot because people ask, Prince, how do you port so many models quickly? And like that is hard. Either you're not sleeping or something. So there are two phases to this. There is one, most models already have their architecture implemented. They are new models, right? But they use existing architectures. I'll give an example of Llama 3. So Llama 3 uses Llama 2 architecture, which means that if MLX already has Llama 2 implemented, you can just simply convert the model directly. Now, you do have newer models like Phi 3 Mini, or just the Phi 3 family of models. So the way I do it, I first look at the code in transformers. So transformers usually has the implementation in PyTorch. So I look at the code, I understand what are the different operations. For example, attention, does it have the attention mechanism? Does it have a linear layer? And I just do a translation of that one to one. Of course, PyTorch has a lot of operations that are particular to PyTorch, to transformers. So you can remove all of those and just keep the architecture itself. And usually, if you look at the code side by side, it's a one-to-one replica that you can do in MLX. And once you have that ported, that code into MLX, you can download the model weights and then convert it.
Cool. So what's needed for this conversion of the weights? Is that like an
Okay.
exporter, or is that something else?
MLX already has a function that converts the model weights into MLX. So there are a couple of ways that you can do this. You can quantize the model into 4-bit, 8-bit, or you can do half precision of the model, for example, from float 32 to FP16. Or you can just do a normal conversion, so that, for example, if the model weights are in a certain way and MLX requires a different way, you can just convert that, and that those weights are going to be uh, ready to load without any kind of pre-processing from MLX. It already has this function. So if you go, for example, to MLX LLMs, there, the folder LLMs, not just the LLMs folder, then MLX LM underscore LM. There you go. So you do have a script there called convert.py. So that is the script that does all the conversion. But before that, you need to have the model code implemented in the models folder. Once you have that, then you can use this script here. And it's the same thing with MLX VLM.
Yeah. So MLX VLM, because that's an interesting one. That's also your product.
Yes.
Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Okay, so I started the year, this goes back by a while. So I started the year and trying to understand how can I actually implement these models from scratch, different architectures. I know how the basic transformers you could implement, but I didn't know how Llama and all of these models were implemented. So I set a challenge that I would code this from scratch. This actually ended up becoming a video series where I took people with me on this journey. And one of the challenges that I set for myself in the beginning of the year is to understand vision language models, because this is a really powerful concept. You can easily add the image encoder into a language model, and then that model already has multimodality capabilities. So you can analyze images. That was super fascinating for me, and it was a challenge I had since the beginning of the year. And someone released a model called Quan, actually, is a friend of mine. He released a model called Nano Lava, and I thought it's a very interesting model for local setups. It's a billion parameters model, so that means you could run it even on a MacBook Air. And he reached out to me. He said, "Hey, Prince, you're really good with MLX. Can you port my model into MLX?" I said, "Okay, sure, I will do it." I dreaded it for a bit because I knew nothing about vision models in detail. So I started to implement that model into MLX LM. And then I told him, this model will not be accepted into MLX LM because MLX LM, as the name suggests, is MLX language models. So I'm creating a new library. Since I already know how this works, I'm creating a new library that's gonna open up the ecosystem for more people to run vision language models completely local. So now MLX VLM has models as capable as GPT-4 that you can run completely on device. So imagine the kind of, there are so many applications nowadays that rely on understanding your screenshot, like the screen that you have. There are so many workflows where you need to quickly, for example, do image search. So you want to search something that's within an image. With MLX VLM, this is completely possible. And you don't need GPT-4 Vision, the API, to be able to do this. So that's how it came to be, and now it's taking kind of a life of its own. A lot of people want to contribute. I'm getting reached out, hey Prince, what if we add this feature? And that's what I really want for MLX. Like, I really want more people to come in and contribute. That is amazing. I have so many ideas of what to do, just not enough time to be able to execute on all of them.
Yeah, because this so to be clear, this is exactly what GPT-4 Vision or GPT-4o can do.
Yes.
So besides like asking a question in text, you can upload an image to the model itself. And it's a single model.
Exactly.
It's a single model that can handle text and can handle images.
And image. Yes.
Yeah.
So you can pass only text if you want to, or you can pass an image as well, and the model will be able to analyze those. And soon, I think this weekend, I'm gonna get a PR from someone that we are gonna be able to do multiple images at the time. So batch processing. So imagine you'll be able to pass on a video and do stuff like Gemini with the big context that you do there. So you can ask a question across a series of frames and get that answered completely local.
So let's take a little bit moment to, because we had a little bit of an audio issue earlier, and kind of like reintroduce yourself. And a little bit of backstory here is that I think I remember seeing you post some of this stuff, and you ran into some limitations as you were trying to do these various quantizations and conversions. And I think it turned out you were running these models on a MacBook Air.
Yes. So that's a really interesting story that happened to me. So I started contributing to MLX LM, and there was this model, Command R. I remember like it was yesterday. That model is 35 billion parameters. Just the Command R, and I'm running a MacBook Air. That model does not fit in my memory, so I coded blindly without even knowing what was happening under the hood, and asked Anui, which is a guy that works at Apple, he's one of the creators of MLX LM, to run my code and give me feedback. So he ran the code. He was like, yeah, your model doesn't work this way. And then I fixed it without seeing any of the results, and then send it again. And then he was like, now it's working correctly. And that's how I kind of got into it. And then people saw that PR, and they were like, please give Prince a MacBook Pro or something.
That's crazy. I think to me, it speaks to the.
Did people give you MacBook Pro, by the way?
No. So he actually he actually reached out. He's a really great guy. He actually reached out, offered me to get some discount on my order, but I already had ordered my MacBook. And when I went to check, it already had arrived. For me to get that, I would have to cancel my MacBook order, and then he would order for me. And then I just said, it already arrived. I didn't do it because I want something from Apple or from him. I do it because I really believe in this, and I want to be able to build the ecosystem. There's so many. I have projects that have been working for months that are not even yet announced, completely open source, that will blow your minds. So I showed him a sneak peek, and he was like, I really appreciate, I want to encourage this kind of contribution. I wish I could do more. I said, it's fine, don't worry about it. It's not like I wanted a free MacBook. So I invested my own money on getting a top of the line MacBook so that I can run most models. Because the problem became I can code and convert the models, but then there were some bugs that I couldn't see. The end user ended up seeing those bugs and telling me, "Hey, Prince," and then I had to go and fix it blindly, then go back. It was a whole process that I needed to kind of fix. So I got myself a new MacBook.
That's insane. And tell us a little bit about your backstory and kind of where you're from, because your
Okay.
name is Prince, and that's not your like real name. Maybe this is like
Yeah.
this is the name you go by, and
No,
I
it's
think it's a
my
really
legal
fascinating
name.
story because, I mean, for me, like before you get into that, it's like I've seen your grit. It's very clear that you want to be around this technology, you need to be in this, and then like your very similar background to me, it's like you learn by doing, along with educating yourself along the way and trying to do as much as possible and nothing stopping you. And I like this story because there are other people out there that don't have the fanciest computers or whatever, but your output is just ridiculously high. And so yeah, tell us a little bit of your background, kind of where you're from, and then kind of how you like got into this stuff. Yeah.
Okay, so that thank you very much. So that's a really good one. I was born and raised in Mozambique, and for as long as I can remember, I've been into computers. I just love technology. And I remember around 10 years old, I used to watch a lot of National Geographic, and I saw this thing where they were talking about all the greats, Einstein, Steve Jobs, and I thought, well, wait, one day I won't be here, and how do I want to be remembered? And the quote of Steve Jobs came to my mind of like, you have to make a ding in the universe, and I thought, I want to help people through technology. So that has been my motto ever since. Everything I do is to help people through technology. How that was going to be exactly or be executed, I didn't know at the time. In university, I got to play with hardware and software. So from Mozambique, I left, I went to India to do my bachelor's degree in computer science and engineering. Um, and when I got there, I got to see both hardware and software, because the first year there is you do everything within engineering, even mechanical engineering. Doesn't matter what course
Ah.
you are. If you're doing engineering in India, you do mechanical, everything, pretty
Mm.
much. Then from the second semester, that's where things change. And I saw hardware, and I said, well, hardware is great, but I have to produce it, ship it, and it just takes time to go like travel across the globe. And I thought the
Hmm.
fastest way to contribute and distribute technology is software. I don't have to invent a lot of the hardware because most of that is, at least what I thought it was, that it was figured out. So I just decided to specialize into software. And at the same time, before I actually arrived in India, I got to see Google I/O, where they introduced TensorFlow, and I saw people doing really incredible stuff with the early TensorFlow. And I just decided to dedicate my life to building machine learning systems and understanding as much as I can when it comes to computer vision. So I specialized in computer vision and NLP. And within that journey of university, I remember the first semester, the dean of the department came to me because I told my teacher I'm learning machine learning, and the dean came and she said, "Prince, you shouldn't be learning machine learning. We are gonna teach you at the end of this, like at the end of the course. The last semester is about machine learning." And I remember thinking to myself, "Yeah, the school system is great, but I don't think I will learn cutting edge machine learning research from my teachers." So I continue to educate myself. I used to help a lot of master's degree students, even PhD students, with their computer vision projects and implementing just machine learning systems back when I was in university. And that kind of just stuck with me. Because of the contributions I've made, I got scholarships from Udacity to do their nano degrees, and I took them all. It was really, really a great experience to just try different systems and learn from the best of the best.
That is absolutely incredible. I mean, what a cool background to go from there to where we are here today. And then continuing to push and to learn and so forth. And like, what do you feel like is your bigger goal in this whole thing? Like, I feel like the money and stuff will come just because of your sheer push. And and you said, make a big dent in the universe, with like Steve Jobs and stuff like that. As you've, I think the problem that I see sometimes when I was starting out is like, it wasn't very clear, like what the paths were. Right. And, it wasn't until I started like playing around and tinkering with things that I started to things start to reveal. And so where you're at today, now that you've gone into these models and kind of got to see all these capabilities and you're seeing all these different problems, and like, now you have a lot more problems you can work on than you can spend time on and focus, right? So what do you feel right now is your current interest? It sounds like, the MLX VLM stuff, but what are you kind of seeing like maybe on the horizon for a couple of years for yourself? And then how are you kind of like aiming towards that direction?
That's a really good question. So something I haven't said in public is I'm building most of the MLX tooling because I want to use those to build SaaS products. So most of my contributions, they're completely open source, of course, but I think about how I can build deeper and better packaged applications and products that people can use. So agents is something that is super interesting to me, and I've been working towards that. And I want a world where your data is completely yours. So I want to be able to build experiences where you own the data, where you own the systems. And I believe that open source, initially people said, okay, open source is not going to catch up. But we are at the point where open source pretty much caught up to at least GPT-4, right? And of course, there are going to be better models, but you don't need a Claude 3 Opus level model to be able to build great user experiences. My background when I was working at Neptune AI is pretty much helping build the product, build all of the different integrations. So I was building and managing over 30 integrations. At one point, it was just me doing all of those, specking those integrations, developing them, coding them, debugging, helping users, and also bringing all of that feedback into building better integrations and improving the product itself. So I would love a world where I can build really great experiences, and that's what I'm building towards. So I'm building towards expanding on Lisa Pro. So Lisa Pro is something that I'm super excited about. The next iteration is going to be completely crazy. If you love GitHub Copilot, you do know that GitHub Copilot has certain limitations. You can't code everywhere. But Lisa Pro, I built it for myself. So I can code anywhere, even on the Notes app if I want to.
Yo, was this like secret stuff that you're dropping right now first? Like no one's heard this
No,
before?
actually, I already have some early users. I just don't talk
Okay.
about Lisa Pro a lot right now
Okay.
because I have a lot of work with MLX that I'm still building. So
Gotcha.
Lisa Pro is kind of on the back burner right now. There are some really
Ah,
great features that are coming. So for example, the next version, imagine this. Most of the time, I know that developers copy paste code between their IDE and uh, ChatGPT or Claude application. But I now reckon that you can build great workflows, and there are people right now testing these. You can have, for example, explanations directly on your terminal. So if you hit an error, you will be able to know what that error is about. Second, you can get a suggestion on what you need to fix without having to have like the GitHub Copilot experience where it's auto completing all the time. You can choose when this thing is happening. It's running completely local. You can choose what model you want to run on your machine from the Hugging Face library. And that just gives you a lot of options to build a lot of great things. So I'm just building the tooling to be able to help other developers like myself code faster. That's how I develop a lot of these models much faster because I'm using this approach, by the way.
so this makes sense. Always, if you have like a use case, you can make it better for you.
Yes.
I'm familiar with a IDE called Cursor.sh.
Yeah, Cursor
And
is really
so,
good,
yeah, I like
but
that, and that experience
it's
is
a bit
nice. Yeah,
slow. It's a
yeah.
bit slow, and it's not running any. At least as far as I remember, it's running everything on the cloud.
Mm.
I want you to run this locally, and it's not, and you don't have to be limited to one IDE or one environment. You should be
Hmm.
able to do this anywhere, right? And
That's right.
later on, you'll be able to just hit an error. It's late at night. You want to go to sleep, and
Right.
then you just say, "Hey, Lisa Pro, auto fix this," and it would just spend however much time just trying to find the solution to your problem. When you wake up, you have, for example, 3 or 4 alternatives of what a solution could be to that particular problem.
Amazing. Or you
So,
could have an
so
agent
yeah,
that's running and checking things as you go
exactly,
in
exactly.
parallel or something. That's so beautiful. I think, yeah. So I've been using Cursor, and I think VS Code and Cursor support like a custom URL. So you can actually run like an Olama thing in the background, or like a Pico MLX, and hit
Yeah,
that as an endpoint on your local
yeah,
server if you're running a model locally. But yeah, no, that's super amazing that you're using your work to kind of drive some of the innovation, really, and like dog food,
exactly.
and continue to iterate and push for features, because I feel like that's how people are going to be able to do this type of thing. That is that
Yeah.
is super incredible. So yeah, for those who are just watching, yeah, thank you for like, give a like or a thumbs up. We had some audio issues to start the stream. Now we've got those all ironed out, and we have Prince Canuma, yes, from Mozambique, and is here live, and is actually now you actually live. Where do you live full time now?
In Poland,
In Poland.
in yeah,
That's
in
excellent.
Poland, in
And
particularly Wrocław. But I know that the pronunciation of that name is, it was hard even for me. I didn't know
ah,
until I arrived here.
oh, okay, yeah, Wrocław.
Yeah.
That's excellent. So yeah, so we're different time zones, and I'm based in California and Hawaii, and we have Ronald, who's also in California as well, and
Hmm.
so we got this whole thing worldwide. And for those who are just tuning in, definitely hit the little like thumbs up, drop any comments. We love seeing your comments just in the stream. It's really fun to see people interacting, because this is basically what we do every Friday. We're hanging out with engineers, people doing really cool stuff in the community, who share their knowledge, and we're really just happy and excited, because if you don't know, Prince is the MLX King, as Apple MLX King. And so we've been going a little bit and talking about his project here as well, from MLX VLM. And yeah, I think also Ronald dropped some really awesome knowledge, saying that like he's basically ported over 200 AI models to Apple MLX. So this is absolutely bonkers. I know Ronald has a whole bunch of questions to ask you, so I'll step aside here and then kind of let Ronald also kind of field some
Sure.
questions here. Yes, yeah.
Thank you, Ray. Yeah, Lisa sounds amazing. So I haven't seen it. I didn't see the tweets or anything like that. But if people are interested,
Hmm.
how do they get like a hold of Lisa? How do they get like a copy or a beta
Okay.
or whatever you're doing?
I Yeah, that's a really good one. Thank you. So I recommend people to reach out to me. I want to have a deeper relationship with everyone that comes to Lisa Pro. I want to understand their use case and help them through this journey. So if they want, they can reach out to me. The website is still coming. I think in the next couple of weeks, I'll be dropping the website as well. But yeah, right now, if you want, just reach out to me on Twitter, on LinkedIn, anywhere. Just reach out, and I will give you access.
That's awesome. And this is 100%
It's
MLX, right?
paid.
That is
It's
awesome.
MLX, but it's paid.
It's paid.
Yeah,
Yeah.
one time payment
Oh,
forever.
okay. Cool. How much
Yeah.
are you charging for this?
Right now it's around 150 bucks.
Okay.
Yeah, and you
That's one
get
time.
all the
So
future
that's yeah.
future upgrades, and also you have access to all of the open source models.
So basically,
And
what
you
you get
get
is like an
direct access to this
engineer.
engineer. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, I was like, that's
Yeah,
pretty
yeah,
cheap for
yeah.
access to an engineer that you can
That
keep
is a
asking
good
and
deal.
DMing
That's a good
questions,
deal.
and like
I
building
get some of the
together.
customers.
Wow.
Yeah, I get some of the customers ask me, "Hey, there's a new model I want to try out," and I just add it to MLX, and they get access through Lisa Pro immediately.
Yeah,
Nice,
that's
nice.
amazing.
That's the beauty. I've been saying this because I can make an impact at the technology level or the tech stack. I don't have to worry about, for example, how can I add this new feature. I can work with MLX directly, and I can work with my product, so I can build an even more customizable experience. That is why I'm super excited about it.
Absolutely. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So we had a WWDC last week, that
Mhm.
Apple's developer conference. I assume you watched it. Uh, uh,
Always,
uh,
every
uh,
single one of them.
nice. So they had some announcements about Core ML,
Okay.
which is a framework, a Swift framework for basically AI inference. So it's not the same as MLX. It does
Yes.
things that. I mean, I guess there's like an overlap between the two. So what's your takeaway from that? So we have now MLX. We got Core ML, or a new version of Core ML.
Mhm.
What is the overlap? What's the difference between the two? Well, what would you use one? When would you use the other one?
So if you want to run models on the Apple Neural Engine, you would definitely need to use Core ML at the moment. I don't know if this will change in the future with MLX, but right now MLX leverages your unified RAM and your GPUs to run. It's not really running on your Apple Neural Engine. I feel like when I saw the selection, there are still it's like a small amount of models that can run on Caramel using the Apple Neural Engine, and there are certain operations that are not yet supported. So if you want to build something for an iPhone, for an iPad, for sure, go for Core ML. But if you really want to build like with large language models, let's say models with 10 billion plus, I would recommend MLX. Even though they say it's for research, it is capable of doing production workflows locally. So you're not doing anything with the cloud; it's just running on your device. And until now, I haven't had any issues with any of my users, and even my own experience with it. So it runs pretty well and pretty reliably,
Yeah.
and it gets
So you said
faster
like
every month.
it does. Yeah. Yeah. Like not a little
Yeah,
bit, but like huge.
I said
Yeah.
this in my
Yeah.
talk. Since the beginning of the year, MLX I think has gotten more than 150% faster. And
Yeah.
I'm
That's
talking
crazy.
about overall. There are operations where they improved performance by 1,000%. So
Yeah.
it gets faster every single month, and which is pretty great. And I think after I get to working on the quantization for 2-bit, because that's something I need to work on. Once I work on that, and you can have 2-bit quantized models, you'll be able to fit bigger models into smaller machines, which is a great win-win.
Absolutely. So you said like not all operations are supported by Core ML. Can you go a little
Yeah.
bit in detail? What does that mean? Does it mean that certain models will not run on Core ML?
Yes, so certain models that require certain operations might not be a great fit for CoreML.
Can you
So
give
you,
a
you
couple
would
of
need
examples
to.
for that?
I don't have any practical examples at the moment. I think I can pull up the documentation and go through it and probably post it on Twitter after this, um, kind of detailing some of the differences.
Okay, that will be awesome. I think like a lot of people are kind of a little bit confused where things what's different because we have two things we can use now for inference. So yeah, that would be super helpful.
Yeah.
Have you I know we have like a large following from the Swift community here. So have you had any experience with like MLX Swift, the Swift bindings for MLX?
I tried. It was at the moment when I tried, it was slower compared to the Python implementation. So I kind of just ignored it from there. Some people have come and asked, "Hey, Prince, should I use Swift MLX?" I said, "Yeah, sure, but it might be slower than Python if you look like compared to different models. It might be slower there. It might have changed now, but I feel like the Python is more mature, more developed. So that's where I'm focusing."
Well,
Plus,
very good.
I only started learning Swift beginning of the year to build Lisa Pro, so I know a little bit about Swift. But when it comes to MLX Swift, I saw the comparison and I just felt like it's not the time yet for me to put a lot of effort there. It might be later, but at the moment, I don't see that.
Gotcha. So do you know where that speed difference comes from? Because like Python is an interpreted language, so you would
Mhm.
think that Python would always be slower. Any
I
ideas?
think I think it could be the operations as well, or kind of optimizations that, because MLX is built on C and then you have Python, potentially some connection there in the middle, or some operations are not there yet. That's just my high level idea. I haven't really dug deep into details there.
Yeah, I'd love to hear if people have more experiences with the MLX Swifts and know
Yeah.
like how that works or doesn't work under the hood. Leave a comment on Twitter. We see all the comments live in our view. So love to figure out like what that is, or maybe it's a whole new talk.
Once that is
Uh,
done, I would actually prefer Lisa Pro to run with MLX Swift compared to MLX Python. Like it
yeah,
would just be much easier to work, but it's just that latency is not there yet. So once that is fixed, I'll be the carrier of the flag and say, hey, MLX Swift right now. If you're building
nice.
Swift applications, that's what I think.
Yeah, I do notice that they always like a few versions behind. Where I mean, like the tech lead of I think that this is the title of MLX often
Mhm.
announces a new version, and there's like a new version every week, more or less.
Yeah, yeah.
But then if you look at MLX Swift, it's always like 3 or 4 versions behind the Python and C++ versions, unfortunately.
It's not getting enough love at the moment for me to
Yeah,
kind of go there and carry it. I know, like I could do it, but I just feel like it's just much easier to work with the Python one. I can make direct impact quickly. I can identify bottlenecks quickly. With the Swift one, I have to dig into Swift, understand whether it's a Swift problem, or it's a MLX Swift problem, or it's an MLX problem with. So I feel like the bigger impact is in the MLX Python for me right now.
yeah, yeah. So if I understand correctly, like all the models that you've ported to MLX, as you said, there's like two portions. There's like the weights portion that needs to be
Yeah.
exported to MLX, and there's the code portion, basically
Yes.
that runs the transformers and then everything. And that part is in your case Python. So if I would want run one of your models on MLX Swift, I
Mhm.
could use the weight because the weights already have been
Yes.
exported. But the code, I might need to port to Swift as well.
To Swift, yes. You might
Yeah,
need
yeah,
to rewrite it in Swift, but the operations should be one to one. I'm not sure, but yeah, it should be one to one. You would just
yeah,
look at the Python code and just translate that into a Swift code.
yeah. And if I'm not like fluent in Python, I can always use like Lisa to do the porting, I guess.
Well, not Lisa particular to do the porting at the moment, because I just leverage all of the models I already uploaded to the MLX community. So you have access to all of the MLX hub models and you pull from that.
Gotcha, gotcha.
It's
Yeah,
just much easier because if you can actually run the transformers model. If you have the code, you don't have to convert it. You can run it directly, although it will be slow. So you can run a 7 billion parameter model without having to convert it. It will be a bit slow. If you quantize it, it will be better. If you do half precision, it will be better. And that's why MLX has a lot of, if you see my models, they're either 4-bit or 8-bit, because I feel like you need to have those options. It comes at the cost of performance when you quantize the model, but it's not, I haven't noticed like big degradation in performance. So it's good enough and fast enough for you to be able to run even on an iPhone. I saw someone, Alex, actually ran took my Llama 3 implementation within an hour of me posting Llama 3 on Twitter. He actually put it into an iPhone and started running, and I was like, that is interesting. Like if I can port a model and within an hour have someone running it on an iPhone. Imagine, like that's the kind of impact I love, like having people just get into it real quick.
Yeah,
That's why I try
speed
to move fast,
is
or at least
insane.
I move
Yeah.
fast.
Absolutely. So if I understand you correctly, is you said like you don't have to convert the weights. You can like just use the weights as they come from Llama or anything. It's just like you convert it for quantization, basically
Yeah,
like
you convert
for
it for
compressing the
quantization
models.
and speed.
Gotcha. Yeah.
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 Yeah, so it's just, and also because you sanitize the weights in the beginning, like you process the weights if they need to be in a particular format for MLX. Once you convert the model, that's already done. So the operation is just much faster. Like the model is much faster to load, much faster to provide the answer, which means it's just better user experience.
Yeah. So right now we have a couple of like different like file formats basically, right? We've got like
Yes,
the llama.cpp.
yes.
We've got MLX and we got PyTorch. I think has his own. I assume has his own like file format for weights. Is that correct?
Well, PyTorch, Transformers, which also uses PyTorch, and MLX use safe tensors. It's the file format that they use. The only difference is PyTorch might have, for example, certain operations that have to be inverted in MLX, and that's why you convert those weights. Llama
Okay.
CPP has their own quantization or not or conversion or file type, which is called gguf. That is different. I think MLX now also supports gguf as well, which is pretty good. So that means you can directly use a gguf created model from MLX into llama cpp and back and forth.
Gotcha. Can you dive in a little bit like you said like some if I understand it, some of the data or the weights have to be transposed or reformatted for MLX.
Yes.
It sounds a little bit
Yes.
like a small Indian versus big Indian problem. If you're for listeners who have been in computer science for a longer period of time, meaning that
Hmm.
the big order of
Hmm.
16-bit numbers sometimes has to be reversed for certain processors. Is that something similar that's going on between like these
Not
between these two?
Not really. I will talk about, for example, MLX VLM. So you have a vision encoder, which is just a vision model that converts your image into text embeddings or into that format, or just gives you some embeddings that you then later use another model to or layer to convert that into the text space. So the problem there is that transformer models use the channels. So you have red, green, and blue, right? Those are the channels, and you have the height and width of the image. That gives you the shape of that tensor or that weight matrix. So it's a matrix that is by it like H by W, and they have like three of those, which are the channels. um, PyTorch uses the channels in the first dimension, so they come first. And then when it comes to MLX, I prefer to use it on the last dimension. So I need to do that kind of pre-processing of the weights to be able to load them. Otherwise, it'll give you an error and say you're trying to fit um, uh, matrices of two different dimensions, and you'll have to kind of fix that.
Gotcha. That's
That is
awesome.
one example. Or, for example, the model has a particular weight that you don't use or you don't need for inference, so you need to kind of remove those.
Okay. Okay, that's awesome. Cool.
My bad. Yeah, I was just trying to get this stuff up because I was actually looking at some of your slides, and one of the things I think we were talking about earlier, and I was actually able to find it, which is about the MLX VM. So in your MLX VM project, basically you can
Yeah.
ask it a question, and it says explain this image, and this is basically all running locally, all on your Mac,
Yes.
right? That's so
Yeah, you
cool.
can do OCR, you can do image captioning, you can do image detection, object detection. It runs really quickly, and there's a video. Actually, the next one is a video. I'm not sure if you will show there,
I
but
don't. I could probably pull up
you would need
the.
Google Slides. You'd need Google
Oh,
Slides to be able to run it.
okay.
But it It shows the OCR example, and it's pretty quick, like
Oh,
super quick,
wow.
within
Ah,
a
so
few seconds.
Yeah, did you say this
But
is
I
more
would
was a
like,
7B model? Is that what you said earlier? If I remember
yeah, that's
correctly?
an eight in the video.
8
That's an
billion.
8 billion
Yeah.
parameter model running completely on device doing OCR,
Yeah.
and
So
it's a
for people not
quantized model, but
familiar,
it,
this is small. 7 billion parameters is
yeah,
really small model. Yeah. Even for
so you
like
can
like like
extract,
like text LLMs, not just
yeah.
visual. Yeah.
Imagine you have, for example, a screenshot with some text. You can just ask the model to extract all of that text, and you can do whatever post processing you want. So if you want to pass that into a language model to understand what's on your screen, you can do that. You can do so many different things. And actually, I wanted to emphasize one thing, which is just open source. Like in general, you can do a lot of great things in open source. The reason why MLX VLM and all these things I'm trying to do are open source is a lot of people out there will get to experience and give me feedback so that I can improve it. Like every single week, I get a new issue, which is really great for me. Like I feel happy when I have a new issue, a new problem to solve, because we can iterate much faster that way.
that's
Yeah.
awesome.
Totally. So,
Wow. So what's your experience been? Because this is like your stats right here, right? Your open source metrics in the last 6 months, right? 200 plus models, 10K
Uh huh.
downloads, 5,000 likes, top 10 models on MLX. And
Yeah.
so if there are companies, I'm so basically what in my experience right now, as I talk to different people, there are program managers who are out there who are wanting to know what the limitations are for the current AI technology. So the CEO is saying, "Hey, there's this AI thing that's going on. Like, can we do these types of things?" And so, what would you say, in your opinion, since you've had a lot of hands-on expertise, like, what are some of the things that like either MLX can do or things that you've been working on with AI stuff, be it a closed source model like the big guys or open source?
Mhm.
Like what is it that they do very well, and what is it maybe that you kind of are some gray areas that just either need tuning or more engineering work, so that think about this more from like the CEO level, like of these companies.
Okay.
Like I'm a bank and I have lots of data and I have lots of customers and there's a lot of different things that we can do to really make a big dent in things. But we just don't, like what could be the limitations? And then like kind of, from your experience, what does that look like?
Yeah. I think it's a use case. It goes on a use case basis. For
Hmm.
example, a bank, they could do internally, they can run RAG, for example, retrieval augmented generation, and you don't need like GPT-4 level. Most models, even smaller models like Command R, Command R plus, that are like 34 billion parameters. They give you really great performance, and you can build custom workflows. In my talks, I've mentioned this. You can build custom workflows to increase the accuracy of a smaller model that you potentially trained or you just took it out of the shelf. Now, would I recommend a bank to have like a customer facing RAG? I don't think so, because an error there would cost them a lot of money. It's very sensitive. Certain use cases are a bit harder to recommend to use AI, but they can speed up digitalization. For example, they can have, for example, images of stuff that they want to extract quickly. They can use open source models for this. They can use closed APIs. Most of the use cases, I feel like 99% of the use cases out there of most companies, I'm not talking about the companies doing cutting edge, the ones doing reasonable scale MLOps, the ones that don't make millions of dollars from AI, can improve their workflows, can have, they can make their one best employee, 10 times more efficient by using AI. But of course, it does require discernment. Models still have failure modes, and those are harder to spot if you are relying completely on them. So I still feel like you need subject matter experts within those businesses that are
Hmm.
pretty good at what they do. They are the best. I'll give an example when it comes to building applications. If you're a really good programmer and you use GitHub Copilot or any, let's say, Lisa Pro or any other a coding assistant, you will become more efficient because you will understand where the model is not good at and where the model is good at, and how you can leverage the advantages that the model gives you to save time. So you could really become more efficient or have a more efficient company by using large language models, by using the latest and greatest models out there. It doesn't have to be NLP in particular. It could be vision, it could be sound. Just depends on your use case. But you do
I see.
need subject matter experts. I still believe that you need the best of the best to be able to oversee these models.
That's cool. And so, like, let's just say, like, I'm this project manager. I have a Mac, and like, what would you say is like a basic getting started kit? Because they want to get more technical, and they don't necessarily code. But now you're saying like GitHub Copilot. I've used these things. It definitely helps me go from idea to code super fast. What do you say are some of the basic things they may need to just kind of get started, and like what are some of the first tasks you know just to kind of get them their feet wet on the because they've heard Chat GPT, maybe they've heard you can put stuff in, and maybe they've played around, gave it some queries, but that's kind of as far as they went because they kind of gave up and saying, well, this is too I don't know. It's like. So now that they're kind of curious again, because we keep talking about this and we're saying this is kind of the future, what would you say is like some of these basic toolkits that they should have? Like what do you think, like, at minimum to get
Depends
started?
on depends on what level they're going. If they want to code, of course, I would recommend to go for MLX. Like, just go learn as much as you can about MLX. If you're not necessarily, if you're trying to change careers, I would say that. If you want to still be a product manager and you want to, for example, um, understand how you can build better features or how a feature would work, I would still recommend going for any of the hosted platforms, or even downloading Olama or Llama CPP, running something like a UI locally that is not, let's say, ChatGPT if you have sensitive data. So run Olama, run LM Studio, any of these, or even Pico. Pico has this. I saw they have the UI, so you can run any of these like local UIs and ask the system. Just ask questions and see what kind of replies you get and iterate from there. Because sometimes I told this in my talk, like, a lot of people don't know how to Google search properly. Like, your first Google search query is not efficient. It's the same thing with RAG. A lot of RAG systems fail because um, the first question that the user is going to ask is not always the best. It's after you have some more context and you've read a little bit that you're like, oh, I've read this article here. It means that I should search, for example, this other platform. Potentially, that is the solution. So just iterate over, understand what the system can build for you. I think for today, Claude, the new Claude 3.5, and even Claude 3 Opus can help you build UIs. If you're a product manager and you want to understand how that feature would look like, you can ask it to build a UI, a dummy UI, and you'll see and you will interact with that demo application. If it doesn't work a certain way, it needs a new button here or a new workflow, you can just give that command and have the model output that. Are there limitations there? Yes, but it's better than paying someone $100 an hour, $50 an hour to build you that demo, right, or that POC application. You can actually accelerate that process by leveraging large language models. Just take the use case, describe it to the model, and ask it to build a particular UI or see, or kind of brainstorm on different ideas. So that would be one way. It just depends on what level of the stack you want to go. I am more on the lower level, so model training, tool stack, and so on. I understand how to build the UI, but for anyone coming in, if you don't have the machine learning experience, if if you don't know how to code, I would recommend starting with the UIs, and you can even use those to teach you how to code. I know a lot of people that were using ChatGPT, the original ChatGPT 3.5, to learn how to code, and that was fascinating for me. I learned Swift this year using the different providers. I was just like, hey, how do you learn Swift? But I
Yeah.
already have a lot over 10 years of coding experience, so that doesn't really count.
It all helps, right? Because you wouldn't have
Yeah.
gone as deep, or I think sometimes you have the ideas and you really want to get it out. And like these are assistants, and they basically help you with output. I follow a guy named Kashin, and he basically posts memes, and he's putting in a bunch of C code and like learning how to write shaders and things that he never did before, and he felt like
Yeah.
was just so abstract and way out there for him. But now it's like it's a big unlock, and it's like dang, it just so I think nothing is stopping us, just like the way that with your story, how you started out, and like if you have the will, if you have the drive, like you will, you make it come into existence. And I feel like we're in this powerful era of information that can make it not only come into existence but can speak to you at your level without feeling like you have to like burden anyone. So I think that's super cool, man. Wow, like
Yeah.
that's
There's
just so
there's this
yeah.
meme. There's this meme that says, "Only ask me a question after you've asked ChatGPT." And I feel like I feel like that is true today. A lot of really basic questions and even some interesting questions ChatGPT can answer in ways that you'd never expected it to work. But when I say ChatGPT, I'm just talking about LLMs in general. Even the ones you can run on MLX can give you answers. And I know a lot of people that use Mixtral. They prefer Mixtral for coding compared to ChatGPT or Claude 3 and so on for their particular programming language. So that is a big unlock for them. But of course, it does need a lot of experimentation. You need to try a lot of different systems, and yeah, the best way to get started, just download a UI platform, Olama, Pico, LM Studio, and just get started asking questions.
Yeah. And for developers, because I know like we have a lot of developers actually watching this.
Hmm.
If you are a developer, not necessarily Python, but maybe Swifts, maybe something else,
Yeah.
and you want to learn how LLMs work under the hood, where would you recommend them to start?
My YouTube channel.
Your YouTube channel, and
I
can you share
Beginning of
the
the
URL?
year.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just my name on YouTube, Prince Canuma. It's there. One of the top results, I guess. Or I can share the link afterwards, or can I share it now? I'm not sure if I can
I
post,
think you could share it
but
now on your thing. I think it shows let me I think
I
I'm trying to pull
I
it
don't
up.
have the comments.
Oh, okay. Oh, I got it. Here. Here we
Yeah.
go.
So there you go. So there's a series actually. There are a few playlists. There's the Coding Llama 2 from scratch series. Um, what you see in those videos, I actually did live streams. What you see in those videos is exactly me learning real time. Like I didn't prepare. It was just Friday, turn on the camera and get coding and explain what you're
Nice.
seeing. Go through the paper, understand how the architecture should be from the paper, and then translating that into code, testing every single component of the LLM. And once you get one model, like once you understand how Llama 2 or Llama works, you'll be able to code 80% of the models. Most of the new models
Gotcha.
only change one or two things. And then
So
you have
I
the Coding Llama 3. Sure, go
I
ahead.
do see like from scratch using PyTorch. I
Yes.
do see an MLX icon there. Do you have a videos as well, like creating GPT-2 or Llama from scratch using MLX by any chance?
Um, Actually, that's the future video. So now on the Llama 3 series, I built the first ever Llama 3 with 6 billion parameters. And my idea, because I get this question a lot, is to do a video after we expand the context to, let's say, a million. I'm going to do a video dedicated to converting that particular model to MLX, like the entire process, how I would do it, taking the PyTorch code into Llama 3. I already did this. It's already on MLX, and I'm the one that created that one. So I will show you how I went through that process with MLX, like in details.
Oh, I
So right
can't wait for
now
that.
is yeah. Right now I'm running another experiment before I go into the MLX video because I get that question every week. now. It's like, Prince, how do you convert models to MLX? I want to know your secret.
What's your
I
sauce?
can imagine. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So
Well,
when do you think we can expect that on YouTube?
I think the next couple of weeks. This week I
Nice.
finished my last talk, so I do have a lot of free time. So within the next couple of weeks, I'll be releasing that.
Yep. And the talk you mentioned is the talk, the data,
Data Science
AI's,
Summit,
there's some. Yep, yep. Yeah.
and then Gen AI Krakow on Monday. So I did 1,300 kilometers of traveling within the last couple of weeks. Yeah. So the
Nice.
first event was the big one. I'm now a part of the group there. A lot of the speakers there. I met this one person there that said, "I started. This is my first talk, and I'm giving this talk because I watched your last talk, and that inspired me to start speaking." So in
No
Poland,
way.
I'm kind of a bit well known.
Yeah, the AI community. Yeah, yeah. I mean, they should be lucky to have you as one of their community members for sure.
Yeah, it's because I cannot travel at the moment. So wait until I get my document and I can travel to the US. I'll be in SF for a
Oh,
Awesome.
while.
Yeah,
sweet.
yeah. And this is like a visa issue, right? I mean, you're waiting
Uh,
for
uh,
your
re-
last.
Residence.
Yeah, yeah.
Residence permit is the thing. It takes a while, but it's about to come out. Once I get
That's
that, I'll be
These things are
traveling. I
so
get I
annoying.
get
Yeah,
invited
yeah.
US, Germany, but I just cannot do it at the moment. So I decided this year that I'm gonna travel Poland. Since the beginning of the year, I did a talk. I talk a month. Every month I had a talk.
Nice, very nice. Yeah, we can't wait to have you here. I mean, I think it would be awesome to have you speak here in the Bay Area.
Yeah. So
Absolutely,
how
I
did you
would
get
love that.
the name Prince, by the way? Just like what's the background there?
That's a really good question right
Is it
there.
is it
So,
self is it because the portion stuff here or like what's it's
so my dad used to work for the king of Swaziland back in the day. We are talking in the 90s, and he really loved the idea of like a empire. So when I was born, he gave me the name Prince, and then my uncle gave me the name Albert, and my grandparents gave me Mwanewa and Kanuma. So I'm the only one in my entire family that has the full meaning of the name. So we are all Kanumas, but without Mwanewa, it doesn't really complete the meaning. So Mwanewa Kanuma means something that you put out to dry that never dries. I take it as my kind of personality of like just being on fire all the time and being persistent with stuff I love. So I got that. And then my younger sister's name is Queen. So it's kind of a continuation of the royalty
let's
naming.
go. Let's go. That's so awesome, man. That's so crazy. So just
Yeah.
always pushing it and now you're just like you're just rolling with it and stuff. So if you have a kid,
Yeah.
what would you name him?
Well, one of them has to be Prince too. Like I feel like it's such a good name. But
Yes.
I do have other options. But one of them will be Prince Junior for sure. Like I went to India. In India, they called me Raj Kumar, which means prince. I came to
Oh,
Poland. People call me Książę, which also means prince. And
okay.
like everywhere you go, you have a different way that they pronounce your name, which is like pretty beautiful. And it's also easier for people. People remember my name very easily. It's like, oh, Prince, yeah.
Yeah. No, man, you're famous all over the place and just from basically just first of all just like pushing through getting the laptop, running some models and stuff, debugging code remotely through other engineers across the sea, and then like getting the response back and then updating your models and pushing those out to now like I think now you have a maxed out what's your setup right now? Like what are you rolling? Like
Uh,
what's your tech stack right now?
Yeah, so I'm rolling a M3 Max 96 gigabytes. That is a beast. It runs almost everything. I wanted the 128, but I felt like the extra $1,000 wasn't worth it at the moment. So I'm waiting for the Mac Studio now, so that I can push even further. I see people doing a lot of
Yeah.
really beautiful things with the Mac Studios. So I'm waiting for the new one there. But this one is good enough to run almost everything. So it was an investment to be able to contribute to open source at a different level. And I felt like the whole Twitter celebrated with me when I got it. So I posted a video, and people were like happy, like, Prince, we now know you are going to really deliver, and I've been delivering ever since without needing to have people run my code for me.
That is so incredible and stuff. And yeah, and just a reminder that you're working on this little project where you're basically running models locally, and it's like basically an IDE type of thing, and it's a very private beta, I guess you could say. But
Yes.
in order for anyone who's interested who wants to get in, definitely reach out to you directly. I think probably through X, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay,
So reach out, just say I want Lisa Pro, and I'll walk you through that process.
that's awesome. Yeah, and so
Yeah,
basically, for like a couple $100, you'll have access to a really amazing fire engineer, and they'll
exactly.
yeah, and you know, it's basically a one time thing, no subscription, while you're still developing out, and obviously you're still because it's closed. It's not like you're just letting everyone in, because
Hmm.
that could just be really overwhelming, which is kind of nice. Which also works,
Yeah.
you know, as independent developers for you guys to do things, for people to do different stuff. And so, what do you think has been your biggest challenge so far with these models? Like, are you running into issues with like when you're tuning them up, like having any issues with like data or like outputs? Like, what are kind of the big tasks you're tackling right now?
Right now, my biggest issue is GPUs. I cannot have enough GPUs. So I remember I did the Llama 3 video where I created Llama 3 6B. That took me around $500, and in total, the experiment ran for 4 days. I Because I was running inferior GPUs, I had someone, a director of AI in this big startup with good funding. He reached out to me on LinkedIn and said, "Hey, Prince, I ran your same exact experiment at $350, and it ran within 24 hours." So imagine how much faster. And I said, "Hey, what did you do different?" He said, "Oh, I was just running some A100s with NVLink, so the latest A100s." And I said, "Wow, that is amazing. I wish I had access to such GPUs, or even the kind of funding to be able to do that, because I want to be able to create Llama 3 with 1 billion parameters, with 3 billion, to 22 billion, all of these different sizes, because I feel like it's going to enable more developers to use the variety to build different workflows. So you might need a smaller model for a particular setup in your pipeline. For example, if you need to rewrite something or double check spelling, you might need a billion parameter model. But if you want to do something that requires a bit more reasoning, you might need a bigger model. And so I want to provide that variety of models. And the biggest bottleneck right now is just GPUs. If I can get access to more GPUs, cheaper or even sponsored, I would give that to the entire community. I would build that for a month, just churning out models.
Oh wow, that's excellent. Has anyone else reached out to you at all? Like other people from
Yeah.
different communities? Okay.
Yeah, so the CEO of Jarvis Labs reached out, gave me some credits. Model Labs, I've been a customer of Model Labs and Jarvis Labs for a very, very long time, years now, and they all reached out, gave me some credits, and I'm in conversations with um, a university here that has really large supercomputers,
Mhm.
and they might. We're still seeing, because they want academic work, and I want to do open source work, not necessarily academic.
Ah. Okay.
So yeah, I'm just looking for GPUs right now. That's the biggest thing. H100s, A100s with 80 gigabytes. A node of that, like 8 GPUs of those, I would be able to do incredible work.
That's
And
Cool.
amazing. That's awesome.
everything is open source. So I'll do the videos. You'll have the data I used, the code I used, the model weights, and just the entire documentation. So you'll be able to see everything.
Well,
and
there
you'll
we
get
go.
a
It's
shout
like
out.
H100 or A100s for
Yeah.
Prince. That's the ask.
Yeah, I still have an open request on Twitter and people still reach out. It's just that providers
Awesome.
want to sell. They're like, yeah, we have those. Here it is. You can pay $5. And I'm like, wait, guys, you don't understand. Yeah.
Awesome.
Wow, that's amazing. So for anyone who is out there who has any connections or no friends of friends, slide through. Like hit us up in the DMs, hit us up on the show notes, or just talk to Prince directly. I think there's just a lot going on, and even just reaching out to directly connect with ML models and stuff, and to build these things. And so, do you get a lot of engineers asking you like, "Hey, like I love doing these things, and I love building with your tools, and I try to like kind of play with these, but I'm kind of stuck right now. Like I try to, I don't know if I should just go down and learn the Python route and just do all PyTorch stuff, or should I just use MLX, or like what advice would you give someone who's just wanting to maybe focus and like not get too distracted? Because I feel like as I start to do things with text models, I want to do vision models, and it's like I want to do so many different things. I just can't really focus on one or the other.
Okay, so for someone that wants to get started, I would recommend just I don't know what you exactly want to do. If you want to train models, learn PyTorch. Like if you really want to train models on NVIDIA GPUs, learn PyTorch. If you want to learn how to run these models locally, there are two routes. If you're really good at C++, you could go with C++, Llama CPP. That's a good choice. If you have a Mac, which a lot of people don't, and I get a lot of criticism that Prince, you're promoting Apple and MacBooks because you have the money. It's like, no, I also make sacrifices to be able to afford these things. I know they're expensive. So if you don't have a Mac, Llama CPP. If you do have a Mac, even a MacBook Air, entry level MacBook Air, learn MLX. You will not regret it. There's a lot of optimizations and things that you could do around MLX. And also, you would leverage all the tooling I'm building. So, I do have some open source projects. I think I will announce one during this weekend that is around MLX that will benefit and will help make it easier for you to run all of these models.
That's excellent. That's excellent. I think that's a really great advice that you're telling us, and it looks like everyone's kind of like digging the shirts here as well. Definitely appreciate the comments, and yeah, Prince, it's just been really amazing to have you on our show, to just sit down with you and have this opportunity before you become like super famous, where you just can't like walk into a room anymore, and you're really pushing the envelope here, and setting a really nice example for people to like not give up. If you're really into these things, these are going to be changing the world. There's a lot of different avenues you can look into from getting started, and it sounds like you can just kind of pick your flavor of your passions, really. And it sounds like we just keep following your passions and pushing through. And it's really a true honor to have you on the show. And definitely would love to have you back. And maybe I think in the future we'd love to do like some panels where we have a bunch of people coming on and talking about like many discussions, because this is our corner every Friday, like at noon. We just kind of like to sit around and nerd out with our friends who are all over the world. I'm Ray Fernando, and I'm here on the West Coast along with Ronald, and we as backgrounds as engineers, and it's really cool to just kind of take a peek into your world of like MLX and models, and things that are going on in the European side of things. So a true honor, true pleasure, and we'll have some links available on Twitter. And for those who haven't been following, they could find you at Prince_Canuma. And I'll also be dropping the GitHub links as well, and the YouTube channel, so that people can follow along. So definitely appreciate having you on your show. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. This was a pleasure. I've actually looked up to you guys as well. I saw your videos with Friend, and I've been following Ronald. I saw Pico server. I actually, was really interested to see you build that. So you guys are also pretty good. And don't worry, no matter how big I am, I'll always take care of my kingdom.
There you go.
Sounds awesome. Thank you so much, Prince. We appreciate it.
That's awesome.
All
And
right.
for those following along, make sure you hit that little bell button so you can get notified when we go live. And we'll be doing the same thing if you're on YouTube as well. Hit us up at Ray Fernando 1337 at Prince Canuma, and we'll be seeing y'all next week. Stay tuned and on X, on YouTube, on Twitch, and all over the internet. I really appreciate everyone's time and attention, and it's so valuable. Hopefully, everyone has a wonderful weekend, and let's keep building, y'all. Take it easy.
Yep.
Peace.